Hello everyone, Hare Krishna, Namaste. This is Kripamoya, and this is number 17 of our series of talks about the essential elements of Bhakti. Tonight we're discussing karma. It's a word which is very much used and abused, and we hope in this session to give a little bit more philosophical lamp light so that we understand the subject just a little bit more. Well, last time we were gathered together, we talked about the jiva, or the spirit soul, as Prabhupada would say, covered by Maya. We talked about the coverings and the projection and covering by Maya Devi herself. We talked about the chakras. We talked about the sheaths covering the body, the koshas. We talked about the free will of the living being and all of that kind of thing. Today we have karma. So although the jiva, the soul, has free will, when it chooses to exploit matter, the material energy, it becomes bound up in a chain of action and reaction, each action leading to a reaction, each reaction becoming itself an impetus for a new action, and so it goes on and on, a bit like a fly caught in a web. So karma is a very sticky net. It's a word that's often misunderstood as something bad. He got his karma, she got her karma. Well, that's karma for you. Karma's a bitch, whatever. People use the word karma in different ways. All it means is action. That's all it means. And what happens as a result of performing any action, whether it is good, bad, or indifferent, is called karma phala, or the fruit. Phala means fruit. Karma phala, the fruit of karma. So with karma and karma phala and karma and karma phala and karma and karma phala, we are trapped. The free agency of the jiva is compromised by this sticky web of action and reaction. So another vivid example that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada used to give was of the prisoner who has been caught for his misdeeds and placed in a prison. He may be a good prisoner in well, I don't know if you have them in all parts of the world, but in England we have something called a Class C prison. And a Class C prison, you get to walk around, play tennis all day if you want to, meet with anybody that you want to, not just in break time or in your 1 hour out of 24, but all the time. That's a Class C prison. In a Class A prison, maximum security prison, you're locked up most of the day. And so Prabhupada said, if you're in a prison and you are attached to the wall with gold chains, that is very good, but it's just the same as having silver chains or iron chains. There may be different grades of prison, but you're still in prison. Different types of chains, but you are still in chains. So karma, the activities that we perform, are motivated by an intense selfishness which streams out of us in the form of activity. And what we are motivated by with this intense selfishness is the desire for happiness, the happiness that we previously experienced. When you have something and you've lost it, then you try to get it back again. And the more you remember that thing that you've lost, the more you try and get it back. So intrinsic to the soul's desire to reach out and exploit the world around it is this deep-seated remembrance of the ecstasy of spiritual freedom. And nothing and no one and nowhere can ever give the soul that sense of freedom, bliss, infinity, and deathlessness that comes from that Brahman platform. So the soul wants that, but it makes do with lots of substitutes. So the pushing agencies are these 6 enemies of the soul. We talked last time of different things, but there are different lists. So the jiva comes under the sway of these 6 enemies. What are they? First is kama. Kama is different from karma. Karma means action. Kama means lust or intense craving. Krodh means anger. When you don't get what you want, which is most of the time, then comes anger. When I have what I want, but it's never enough, in addition to being angry, I get greedy. I want more. This is lobha. Mada means intoxication. With all this relentless pursuit of sense enjoyment, sensory input, sensory information, in an attempt to find happiness, I become intoxicated. This is mada, which all leads to moha, or illusion. And when I see that other people are doing slightly better than me, even in the intensity of my illusion, I look over and see that he has what I want, she has what I want, and I fall victim to envy and matsalya. So one great Victorian writer named Bhakti he says that on your path of yoga, these are the 6 bandits. Imagine them to be 6 muggers. Have you ever been mugged? Well, we've been mugged life after life by these 6. They're always plotting how to attack us, how to rob us. So being covered by any layers and performing karma or any activity, we do so with our senses, and the senses are what the jiva uses to interact with matter. If you didn't have senses, you couldn't interact with matter. It's like a ghost. A ghost is a jiva with the subtle energetic baggage or luggage. The jiva has mind, intelligence, and ego, but no material body. So the ghost is trapped. Therefore, the ghost likes to come out and try and find a body in different ways. So some ghosts, they like to live in statues or paintings or pumpkins. They take on the different forms in order to try to express their inner desire to interact with the world, but they can't. Very, very frustrating. It's frustrating being you. We're all frustrated. That's the tendency of the jiva in material conditioned life. We all get frustrated at every moment. But a ghost is permanently frustrated. That's why they moan. Permanently frustrated. However, each action that we perform when we are embodied leads to subsequent reaction. The initial action is the cause, and the reaction is the effect. It may be instantaneous, it may be a week, a month, a year, a lifetime, 6 lifetimes, but the cause will generate an effect. And then the effect becomes the cause of the next effect. Something that happens to you. Okay, let's take a non-karma example. I suppose it could be. Let's say you slip on a banana skin. You slip on a banana skin, you fall over, you bang your head. What's the reaction? Well, the pain of banging your head is such that you will ask a passerby or a friend, please call for an ambulance. I'm hurt really badly. Or please help me. So that's an action in itself. Calling 999 is the subsequent consequent action from slipping or from having pain. Pain is caused by the slipping on a banana. Slipping on a banana skin is caused by what? Not looking, 2 factors. Not looking where you're going and someone leaving the banana skin on the pavement in the first place. So all these chains of action and reaction, we are wandering through them, we're generating them, at the same time we're being affected by everybody else's chains of actions and reactions. So just as a tree generates seeds, and each seed grows up to be a tree, which then generates more seeds, so there's an explosion of tree and seed, tree and seed, tree and seed, lasting millions of lifetimes. So good actions cause good reactions. This is probably what we all know about karma. Bad causes bad. The definition of karma is any action that pertains to the development of the next material body. So if it's karma, it will develop your next material body. If it's good karma, you'll have a good body. What's a good body? You're born in a pleasant country where there's no war. You're born in a pleasant neighborhood, good parents, certain amount of wealth, beauty, intelligence, fame, education, like that. And then we go down through the hierarchy of karmic results to the level where we're born in perhaps a war situation, in great poverty, where there's disease. And if you've ever been to parts of the world that are like that, you'll know it can be a lot worse. So you may feel deeply frustrated, or you may feel that you've been hit badly by karma in some way, but please believe me, I lived in Africa for 2 years, and there's no limit to how bad it can get. So we're getting this. Karma is any action that develops the material body. Karma phala, the fruit, is the reaction, which I said it can be immediate or delayed. So that continues life after life, and the jiva is carried on one level of consciousness to another, to another, to another. Now, of course, karma causes you to not only take birth in different human situations, but you can also take birth in animal situations. Most people, when they tell you about karma, they're studying it in a yoga studio or reading it from a penguin book of Eastern philosophy or something like that. They don't mention the part where karma means that you may not have a human body. See, the jiva is not human. The jiva is spiritual. The human body is a designation. It's a covering, a temporary covering. We're all here temporarily. And whether or not you get a nice body or not a particularly nice body the next time around is determined by your activities. So there are 8,400,000 species of life that you may enter into. We do not want to be born as dung beetles. We do not want to be born, for that matter, as... Well, some people, when they're interviewed, I saw an interview once where a person was asked, what would you like to be? If reincarnation is real, what would you like to be in your next life? And people said, oh, I'd love to be a horse. I'd love to be one of the Queen's corgis. I'd love to be a cat. Anything. With no knowledge of what it actually means to take birth in these bodies. But having, most of us, experienced these bodies in previous lifetimes, we should be not eager to return to that level of consciousness. It's not as good as it seems, even with a good vet. So when we're born in the future, of course we may have non-human limbs, and a non-human does not generate karma, only humans. So sometimes we have this notion of Christianity calls it committing sin, or a Jewish person might consider the word mitzvah. Mitzvah means a good deed. So the golden rule of the universe is that we all intrinsically understand what doing good for others is, maybe some people don't, but intrinsically, good means a selfless activity or something for the betterment of others. And bad activity means a selfish activity whereby one wants to rob others of what they have, to exploit. There's an old English word, sin, S-Y-N-N, and an Old Norse or Viking word, sinta, and gave us the word sin. But it was already there pre-Christian Europe. It meant a moral wrongdoing or a transgression. And the word was later adopted by Christianity to indicate the transgression of the divine order. In other words, God gives commandments, and you sin if you go against those commandments. The Sanskrit equivalent is the word papa, or harmful action. So it's really about committing an activity that will be harmful to you. And I guess that makes, the word papa makes us focus on, I'm doing this harm to others, I'm exploiting others, and I should consider whether it's morally right or wrong to exploit others. But papa means my main interest, since I'm a selfish person, is whether it's sinful, whether it's harmful to me, And the opposite of papa, or harmful action, is punya, or beneficial deeds. So this is how we get to the idea, or the word meanings of good and bad karma. When a person engages in bad deeds or papa, they are classed as doing quote-unquote good karma and creating thereby future good karma. And when the same person engages in papa, they're classed as doing bad karma and creating bad future phala, or fruits of karma. So living a life of dharma means to try always to do the punya and to avoid the papa. This is defined in the Mahabharata as follows: Paropakara punyaya papaya parapidanam. Mahabharata says punya is that which benefits other beings. Punya benefits other beings. Papa is that which causes pain to others. So the entire moral theology of Sanatana Dharma and all of the Vedas rests upon the concept of this. Benefit to all beings. Benefit of all beings. Loka sangraha. You can tie it up with a string, with a ribbon, put it in a box, tie it up and give it as a gift. That is the essence of all vice and virtue, moral advice, to do punya and avoid papa. Try to do the benefit of all beings and do not do any pain to others. Golden rule across all religions, across all cultures, but it's there in the Mahabharata 5,000 years ago. Important consideration is that motivation, your motivation or your intention, is the deciding factor of the moral nature of an action. Interesting. And there are stories in the Mahabharata whereby someone has done something right, but it turned out wrong. Someone has done something wrong, but it turned out right. And these little sort of Vedic puzzles give us an illustration. For instance, there was a king who liked to do the good deed of feeding holy men who came into the kingdom. He would sit them down and give them a feast. And one time, his cook made a fabulous feast, but somehow or another a snake had crept into the kitchen. There's two stories actually. One is a snake had crept into the kitchen. Another was that I'll tell that one because that's much better. And an eagle had captured the snake to eat and was flying over the courtyard where the holy men were being entertained by the king. A drop of poison fell from the snake's mouth. It was half dead, and it fell onto the holy man's meal unnoticed, and the holy man was poisoned and died. And after he died, there was great alarm in the kingdom because the king would have to accept the karmic reaction to the holy man dying. And so he called all his ministers and he says, well, I was trying to do something good and yet he died. Am I to blame? Will I get bad karma for this? And then the holy man said, well, no, Your Majesty, you won't. And then second question was, well, will the snake get the karma for it? Well, snakes are animals, they can't get karma. The snake is poisonous, it can't do anything about that. Will the eagle get the karma? And in this way they tried to analyze. And eventually they found someone who was bad-mouthing the king in the marketplace for having killed the holy man knowingly. And due to the offense of criticizing the king, it was said that this person would take all the karma of killing the holy man. There's details to the story, you have to be there, you have to read it. Then there are stories about another king. This occurs in the Srimad Bhagavatam, King Nriga, and he would give charity to Brahmins, and he would give hundreds of cows in charity to Brahmins. And these cows that he gave were big herds, and the Brahmins, of course, would be delighted. Milk and cream and yogurt and so many things, food for their family and their community. Such was the Vedic culture. But then, one time, and one time only, one cow was already given to one Brahmin, strayed into the herd of another Brahmin. And both Brahmins came to the king and said, what is this? How is this possible? And so the king had to take the karmic reaction for giving a cow to a Brahmin and then taking it away, even though he had nothing really to do with the cow's wanderings. And he took birth as a lizard in his last life. Now karma is very stringent. I hope you're taking notes. To lead a life where you try to avoid doing papa is very difficult. Hence it is very difficult to get out of the prison of the material world. However, in his next life as a lizard, the cowherd boy Krishna touched him, and he was immediately delivered. So this shows the penalties for bad karma and the ultimate salvation potency of Krishna, who comes to earth in order to raise up the conditioned souls. Okay. So two other words here for you. Motivation that centers on the welfare of others, parartha, is of the nature of holiness, goodness, purity, whereas motivation, which centers upon oneself, swartha, swa means my own, myself, is negative and leads to suffering. So sin, wherever you look in the Vedanta, the Vedas, you'll find that sin, or papa, is an unskilled use of action. Unskilled use of action. A lack of spiritual understanding which causes one to transgress the cosmic order, or rita. And And the means of committing these unskillful acts are the mind. You can commit an act in the mind. But it is said that in Kali Yuga you're not punished for that. However, the mind will lead you on to commit sin with the speech and your actions. 10 major categories of unskillful action or papa which needed to be guarded against. So these are the 10 commandments of Vedanta, 10 commandments of the Upanishads. Okay? Worth remembering. And if you can't remember them, that's fine. I'll send you tonight's talk anyway. Thinking, number 1, thinking harmful thoughts directed towards others. 2, clinging to irrational and erroneous doctrines. The unskillful use of speech is detected in unbeneficial speech such as 3, lying, very bad. 4, slandering. 5, gossiping, even gossiping. Even gossiping is classed as, it's up there. And 6, abusing others. And 7, giving false teachings. That's not good, is it? Giving false teachings. The unskillful use of action is number 8, causing physical injury to other living beings. Number 9, sexual misconduct. And 10, not rendering assistance in time of need. So 10 is sort of, it's not an act of commission, is it? It's an act of omission. You do have an opportunity to be kind to others. To not do it when they are in need is a sin. So, all good deeds, and I suppose you take that list of 10 and you turn them around 180 degrees and you'll have 10 things that constitute good activities. Speaking well of someone, helping others, etc. So all well-directed virtuous actions lead to spiritual development and happiness. All unskillful actions slow spiritual growth and produce unhappiness. So really, if you want to be happy, perform good karma and avoid bad karma. So there's 3 types of karma, including both negative and positive. So this is what happens when you have committed karma, and the reactions to that are coming. So the first one is called Sanchit karma. I told you that we'll be going into a bit of detail tonight, so here we are. First one is Sanchit karma. Definition: the mass of accumulated results of acts which have been committed in a myriad of past lives. And these acts are stored in the subconscious mind, waiting to come to fruition in the future. They're there. Number 2, prarabdha karma. Prarabdha means operative. It's in action. Sanchit means the stockpile. The stockpile of karma reactions that are yet to be manifest. Okay, the seed is there, but it's not bursting out of its shell. Prarabdha is bursting out. Operative karma. Acts done in the past which have resulted in the circumstances of the present incarnation and are causing all the joys and sorrows which we're now experiencing. So, for instance, the shape of your nose is prarabdha karma. Your height, your weight, your beauty, your ugliness, your talent, your abilities, your lack of knowledge, your good knowledge, the parentage, the struggles that you've had in your life. These are all prarabdha karma. This is all karma that's operative. It's in the process of manifesting. Number 3, kriyamana karma. Kriya means activities. All the actions which are now being performed. So prarabdha means you've done them in the past and they are a result of the results are manifest before you. In other words, you have a body which is shaped by your previous deeds, a mum and dad given to you by your previous deeds. Good Lord, think of that. Kriyamana means everything that you're now performing, which is setting the stage for the next life and the life after that. The scripture declares that the Lord liberates his devotees from all karmic reactions. Okay, well that's the next one. So prarabdha karma is beyond our control. It's already happened. The train is, you're on the train's already left. Once the train is gone, once the bus is gone, once the plane is taken off, you're going to that place. Maybe you could say to one of the cabin crew, I really didn't want to get on a plane to Bangkok. I wanted to go to Moscow. Can you stop the plane and let me off? But I think that what they'll tell you is, I'm sorry, sir, madam, you're on the plane now. You have to, fly to its destination. So that's prarabdha karma. That's beyond your control. The seed has been planted in the past, and now it's flowering. So that karma, prarabdha karma, for Vaishnavas is of two kinds. This is a bit technical. Abhi-upagata, which means is accepted, and anabhi-upagata, which is unaccepted. Means some things are not yet happening, and some things are yet to happen. So the things that have happened is your past, and the choices that you've made in your past. You are a result of all the choices that you've made up to this point, and in the future, that's unraveling itself. But in the future, that will also be your prarabdha karma. All of us will die. That's the first rule. All of us will die. Rule number 2, we'll all die of some particular disease or a complication of a disease. We don't know what that is. Maybe in the future they will design scientific analysis in such a way that, you'll be able to know which disease will I die from when you're 20. Well, sir, when you're 68, you'll die from heart failure. Well, sir, when you're 73, you're going to be dying from lung cancer, whatever. So at the moment we don't know, but all of that is prarabdha karma, so that's laid out. Kriyamana karma, this is interesting, is the present actions, and they're entirely under your control. And therefore, you must perform them with the utmost awareness and understanding that each individual is the author of his or her own destiny. And each and every action, no matter how trivial, will have an effect. Even something very simple. There was a great sage. What did he do? When he was a child, he stabbed an ant or a beetle with a blade of straw. And later on in life, he was also arrested, and they were going to take him to be thrown onto the chunga, which is a spear, capital punishment. So he said, what have I ever done to deserve this? And then he remembered that he'd speared it, but he took it up with Yamaraj. He said, what did I ever do? And Yamaraj told him. I forget the end of the story. It has a happy resolution. But the point is, there may be something small, but the result can be magnified. Because a jiva is a jiva. If the jiva is in the body of a worm, or the jiva is in the body of a president of America, whenever you're making it difficult for a jiva, then you're going to have to accept some results. So be careful how you act. There's an extra clause, by the way. Sanchit karma. Sanchit karma can be compared to the new shoots of a fruit tree. So new shoots, they won't produce any apples or oranges or bananas. It's a new shoot. But it's coming, don't worry. It's the stock of everything that you've ever done that's beginning to manifest, but hasn't quite. Anabhya upagata karma is like a green fruit, and abhi upagata karma is like a fruit ready for eating. So the doctrine of karma explains the dynamic of suffering. There are three factors in suffering. The person who's suffering, an agent of suffering, such a person, thing, condition, or so on, and the degree of suffering. So all of that sanchit karma piles into that. So some jivas are moving upwards to heaven or swarga, and some are moving down to hellish worlds, naraka. And even the gods themselves, even the angels, the gods, the demigods, they're also jivas who are moving. We're all moving under the fuel of our karma. Even the gods will have to return when the stock of good karma pala is worn out. You see, to be a god means that you've done immense pious activity or punya, and usually you follow the Vedas, and you're elevated to Swarga or the heavenly planets, and you live for 10,000 years. But then Krishna says, Kshine punye marityolokam vishanti. You fall down from heaven and again take birth in this world. Now when a person takes birth in this world, who is a demigod for 10,000 years, they're extremely powerful people, but they find it very difficult to cope with the lack of enjoyment in this world. Not much enjoyment. So often you'll see them go crazy for power and fame and beauty, and you know who they are, the so-called celebrities of this world. From their very youth, they've been powerful. But don't worry, they're in the process of winding down the stock of good karma, and in the next life, they will not be famous, they will not be rich, they will not be beautiful, because we have to learn that that's not the cause of our happiness. So with the notes that I've got a chart that shows out all these things, so let me send you that. So here's another classic analogy from the Upanishads. I'll just read it to you. An archer with his bow and arrow, holds his bow, and over his shoulder is a quiver full of arrows. He's an expert bowman and can shoot several arrows in quick succession. As we watch him, he's just shot one arrow, which is speeding away, forming a curve through the sky. It has left his bow, and he cannot pull it back. He's fixing another arrow to his bow, and his quiver is filled with even more, ready to be shot. So the arrow that's already in flight is the prarabdha. The arrows in the quiver yet to be shot are the sanchit, and the arrow he is about to shoot is the kriyamana. Beautiful. Love it. So, how are we going to break free from all this? Sometimes, in one human life, the jiva recognizes that he has performed a prohibited deed, and it's something that you should never ever do. Is called a vikarma. Vikarma means a very bad deed. There's lists of them. Murder, etc. Robbing a blind widow, something like that. There's lists of them. So understanding that the reprehensible action will generate unhelpful reactions either in this life or the next, the person wishes to remove the effects of the bad deed. I just don't know what came over me. I became crazy. I just did this bad deed, and I want to get rid of the karma that I know is coming. It's going to be very bad. What can I do? So then there's something called prayashchitta karma. It means atonement. But it may not fully eradicate the deeper cause that caused you in the first place to do that deed. Reactions to both good and the bad deeds must then be accepted at some time in the future, but the atonement or prayaschitta karma will produce favorable reactions which by their nature may appear to moderate the influence of the unfavorable. So far more beneficial approach to life is to eliminate vikarma completely and to only perform actions in accordance with Vedic guidance, since these are progressive and incrementally enlightening. So if you do the actions prescribed by Vedic texts, then you are doing the best kind of karma. It's still karma because you're still in the material world. Still action, but it's good action. So, is there anything more that I can do to break free from the cycle of action and reaction? Yes. Do something called akarma. This does not simply mean no action. It means action that does not bind. It does not tie your chains even tighter. Not even the silver ones, not even the gold ones. Action performed without attachment to results, self-centered desire, or egoism. No. When we do bhakti, we're doing actions that are dedicated to God or Krishna. These are generally classified as akarma, but they're more than akarma. Akarma is just no reaction. The liberating quality of bhakti is that it liberates one from all forms of karma. But it is possible to perform even bhakti mixed with egotism and a desire for reward. So we say that that type of bhakti is spiritually purifying, but it's not spiritually pure yet. So the idea here is that first of all you do prayaschitta, that's one way, atonement for your bad deeds. Then akarma, mixed with your regular life. And by incorporating akarma into one's life, a tendency may then arise to dedicate further actions to God, which is an ongoing lifestyle often referred to as karma yoga. Then, when one becomes purified by karma yoga and chooses to live in permanent consciousness of God, one is known as performing bhakti yoga, which will relieve one from all past karmic reaction or karma phala. So Prabhupada explains in the Sri Isha Upanishad. I'll just read this. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. And actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower forms of life are called vikarma. Of these three types of action, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. So that completes tonight's talk on karma. And I thank you very much for attending this talk.